I've made the decision to file for divorce. In the aftermath, I've opted to keep the house and the car. I realize this is a difficult time, and while my words may seem sympathetic, they carry a sharper sting than I intended. The smile that accompanied them only made the wound deeper than I ever expected. How could he leave me now, when I was facing a battle with illness? Didn't we promise to face life's hardships together? His cold, dismissive tone and harsh words left me in tears. I cannot forgive him, even in my weakened state. I'm determined to make him feel the hurt he has caused. This resolve marks the beginning of a new chapter, one of reckoning. I am Natalie, and at 42, I've spent my life as a devoted housewife, caring for my family with unwavering dedication. My life with Bruce, my husband, used to be full of joy, like the sweet, vibrant candies we used to share, so delightful that time seemed to disappear. When we first met through a mutual friend, Bruce's warmth and outgoing nature immediately put me at ease, allowing me to open up to him. In those early days, every moment together felt precious, and I cherished every second. Looking back now, it's hard to believe, but our love was once deep, genuine, and filled with dreams of a future together. Living with him felt like a dream, each day full of light, and I believed our happiness would last forever. But as time went on, Bruce began to change, strained by his demanding job, his salary barely stretched, and without higher education or qualifications, his career prospects were limited. I suggested, more than once, that he look for another job, but he always resisted, insisting he was happy where he was. Though I worked full-time and we weren't facing financial issues, I couldn't shake the worry about what would happen if we had a child or if I became too ill to work. I thought it might give me peace of mind if Bruce had a more stable job. One day, a colleague from my company's HR department mentioned an opening in administration. It didn't require special qualifications, just a basic skill set, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity for Bruce. I excitedly suggested it to him, thinking it might be just what he needed, but his response was anything but warm. "Why are you making decisions about my job without even asking me? I picked this job myself. Are you saying there's something wrong with it?" His words struck me hard. I had only suggested it out of concern, not to undermine his choices. "I'm sorry," I said, trying to explain. "I just thought maybe this other company would be a better fit for you." But Bruce wasn't having it. "Just because you're my wife doesn't mean you can meddle in my career," he snapped, his tone colder than I'd ever heard. As he walked away, the sting of his words lingered, especially the one that echoed in my mind, as if he were a stranger. It was like a slap in the face. He was my husband, we were supposed to be partners. Yet in that moment, I felt like I didn't even know him anymore. This was just the beginning of a distance that only grew over time. Things were no better with my family. My mother, a kind and loving woman, often came over while I was at work to help with cleaning and cooking. Her thoughtful meals would be waiting in the fridge, a silent gesture of love that I appreciated deeply. I frequently invited her over for dinner, but recently, Bruce had become visibly irritated by her visits. The last time he came home and found her in the living room, his reaction was harsh. "You're here again?" he said, his tone sharp, leaving both my mother and me in stunned silence. The tension was unbearable. How are we supposed to fix this? I wondered, struggling with the widening gap between us. With a gentle smile, my mother reassured me, "It's okay, Natalie. If my presence makes you uncomfortable, I'll leave earlier today." Hearing her say that, especially when I knew how much she'd been trying to help, broke my heart. "Bruce, think about how Mom feels," I pleaded, fighting back tears. I remembered all the times her presence had brightened our home, and I couldn't understand why he'd been so harsh. Bruce tried to justify himself, saying, "When I come home after a long day, I just want to relax. It's exhausting having someone else around all the time." I tried to understand his point of view, but my gratitude for my mother's kindness made it hard. Bruce just seemed stubborn, and I struggled to communicate my feelings in a way he would understand. My mother, sensing the tension, comforted me. "Don't worry about it, Natalie. If everyone's happy, that's all that matters to me." Her words were soothing, but they filled me with guilt. I could feel the weight of it as I sat down to enjoy the meal she'd prepared. I appreciated it deeply, yet the nagging worry about Bruce and our relationship lingered. And then, everything changed. One day at work, I suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed. My colleagues rushed me to the hospital, where a battery of tests followed. Everything felt surreal, like I was caught in a haze. I tried calling Bruce, but he didn't answer, and then came the devastating diagnosis: cancer. Thankfully, the doctors caught it early, and they reassured me that with the right treatment, I had a good chance of recovery. But I knew all too well how brutal cancer treatments could be, and I mentally prepared myself for the tough road ahead. I told Bruce about my diagnosis and hospitalization, but his response was disappointingly indifferent. His lack of concern, his silence during this critical time, made me feel more alone than ever. Still, I focused on my treatment. Pushing forward was my only option, but the treatment was harsher than I'd expected. My health deteriorated quickly, leaving me confined to my hospital bed most of the time. Just when I thought I couldn't endure any more, Bruce finally appeared in my room. "How are you doing?" he asked, his tone flat and unfeeling. "It's rough," I replied, trying to keep the mood light. It might have been a little easier if you were actually here. The frustration I felt was overwhelming. Where had he been all this time? His presence, his support, those were things I desperately needed. But now, even though he was physically there, he felt no comfort, only more isolation. The memories of our past together only deepened my irritation. Then Bruce said something that left me speechless. I've filed for divorce. I'll take the house and the car. I know this is hard, but you need to hang in there. I don't know how much time you have left, but I hope you keep fighting. I froze, my mind reeling with shock. Divorce? In the midst of all this? Didn't we promise to stick together, no matter what? Wasn't that what love was supposed to be? His words hit me like a punch to the gut, and suddenly I felt nothing but emptiness. I stared at him, utterly bewildered, and then, almost instinctively, a quiet resolve began to form within me. I don't need him, I whispered to myself. I'll do this on my own. I'll forget about him. It was decided. He would one day regret this, but first, I needed to end this chapter of my life, properly. I understand, I said, my voice calm but resolute. You can keep the house, the car, everything. I'm done. Bruce looked at me, clearly surprised, but quickly regained his composure, his smirk returning. I didn't think you'd accept it so easily, he remarked. A few days later, after another exhausting round of therapy, I noticed my phone had received 102 missed calls from Bruce. The thought of him frantically trying to reach me gave me an odd sense of satisfaction. I took my time to calm down before calling him back. When his shaky voice finally greeted me, I could hear the desperation in it. Natalie, please, help me. I never saw this coming, he pleaded, and I felt a flicker of amusement inside. This was exactly what I had planned. Feigning concern, I responded, Bruce, what happened? He took a shaky breath before replying, I'm on the layoff list at work. I can't believe it. I didn't think this would happen. As I listened to his panic, a smile tugged at my lips. Everything was unfolding just as I had orchestrated. The person I had contacted was the head of sales at my company, someone with the power to sway business decisions. After a quick review of their past dealings, he had decided to pull the plug on the partnership. That's why Bruce's company had started calling me. Now, it was time to add a little extra sting. You know, I said, letting my words hang in the air, there are rumors at your office about you and the new girl. Everyone seems to like her. I could practically hear his confusion on the other end. She's so cheerful, it's hard not to notice, I continued casually. There's even talk of an affair, is that true? Bruce's voice crackled with disbelief. Are you serious? You can't be serious, this is a joke, right? His reaction was exactly what I wanted. He had no idea how much power I had at this moment, nor could he fathom how it had all turned against him. Actually, I said, letting the silence stretch for just the right effect, I'm the CEO of the company. For a moment, there was only silence. It's true, I assured him, letting his shock settle in. This is why we were so comfortable. My annual salary is about $5 million. Your paycheck wouldn't have been enough to support your lifestyle. Bruce had always been a spender, relying heavily on the $2,500 monthly allowance I gave him, but that never seemed enough for him. Time and again, he'd come to me with a sheepish look, asking for more. Can I have a little extra this month? He'd beg. I often wondered where all the money went. Bruce, yesterday was payday, wasn't it? I reminded him. I've always given you that extra money, but that's over now. We're not a couple anymore. You can't expect that allowance anymore. I didn't stop there. Also, the mortgage on the house, $3,800 a month. You'll have to manage that now. If you're late with a payment, you might have to move out. While the mortgage wasn't a problem for me, it was a significant amount for Bruce. I could hear the panic creeping into his voice. Wait, are you serious? This can't be happening, he muttered, unable to comprehend the turn his life had taken. The confusion and fear in his voice were palpable. I'm not kidding, I replied, savoring the moment. This is what happens when you take everything for granted. You've lived off my support for far too long, Bruce. Now, the consequences are yours to face. I could hear him spiraling as the weight of the situation hit him. How did it come to this? I've been laid off. How am I supposed to pay the rent now? How do I even survive this? The despair in his voice made it clear how lost he felt. I couldn't help but feel a small sense of justice. This was the result of his selfishness, his lack of respect for me and everything I had done for him. If he had treated me better, things could have been different, but now, his choices had left him in this mess. Maybe you should have thought of that before, I said, the bitterness creeping into my voice, but now you have to deal with the consequences. The silence on the line was deafening as Bruce tried to process everything I'd said. It was clear, the tables had turned, and he didn't know how to handle it. Bruce remained silent, and for a moment, I wondered if he had run out of things to say. I couldn't help but feel a mix of pity and amusement at his predicament. Was this where the conversation ended? Could I hang up now? But then, his voice broke through the silence, tinged with panic. Wait, can we reconsider our relationship? I know it sounds selfish, but I finally realize how much you meant to me. The thought of starting over with him didn't stir excitement in my chest. Instead, it made my heart race in dread. Rehashing all the pain he had caused wasn't something I was eager to do. He continued, his words full of regret. I know I've been reckless. I'm sorry I couldn't visit you in the hospital more often, but once you're better, let's go somewhere peaceful. Let's spend time together. I want to see your smile again. His words had a nostalgic ring to them, reminiscent of the promises he made when we first got together, the ones that had seemed so genuine at the time. Back then, I was swept up by his charm, diving into the relationship without truly considering the consequences. Now, as I reflected on everything that had happened, the thought of returning to that life seemed impossibly complicated. Too much had changed, and Bruce's reckless spending had left scars deeper than I was willing to revisit. Maybe if I had understood him better, things might have been different, I thought, but deep down, I knew better. His voice cracked as he pleaded, Natalie, I can't live without you. I want to face life's challenges with you. Can we start fresh? Just one more time? Sadness and desperation dripped from his words, but despite the emotion, I found it hard to trust him again. The past was too full of betrayal, of his indifference and neglect. Stop it, I said, my voice unwavering. We're done. I've chosen a new path, and I'm not looking back. There was a brief silence before he spoke again, a trace of sorrow in his voice. Please, just one last thing. I really did love you, Natalie. If you ever change your mind, I'll be here. His words might have made me waver once, but not anymore. I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to be swayed by his charm or empty promises. Enough, I snapped. Those words don't mean anything to me anymore. Don't you have someone else to focus